Tansei adventurers. Today I thought we'd have a look at the Glain companion, and it's pretty easy to get. Let me show you. Go to the Basic Fantasy website, it's basicfantasy.org, and on the main page you'll see downloads, and if you look at the top of the downloads page, you'll see something called Showcase. And it's on the Showcase page where we find this. You just do like an in-page search, or you can scroll down till you see it. But it's a compilation of all the supplementary rules used in his personal campaigns. In other words, this is how he plays the game. So, if you're one of those hardcore purists, raw, rules as written sort of people, then it's okay. You don't have to watch this. But for those of you willing to open to your mind the fact that, oh my God, even the creator of this game system doesn't play it as is, you might want to stick around for this. But you also may want to do some reading into learning about Gary Gygax and understanding that even he did not play Advanced Dungeons & Dragons as written. All it was an interesting framework that he could put out there as a complete product, and then it's up to people to use it in the way that they choose. So there are complaints. I've heard complaints about Basic Fantasy as a system, and like, well, why does it only have 4 races, and why does it have only 4 classes? And why is it so limited when it could be so much more? And the purpose is to create a framework that it's clear, it's concise, and complete. And but it's not necessarily limited to just being that. But what it is a starting point with sensible defaults, which allow you to buy something at a very reasonable price, either 100% free if you download it and print it yourself, or basically at cost if you purchase it through Amazon or Lulu. And what you have is a functioning game system. You can pick it up, you can read it. It's not complicated to run, and if that's all you're looking for, it may be a perfectly sensible, serviceable solution for you. But if you want to have something that has more bells and whistles to it, it's also created to be a modular system that you can add more things onto. And you can find those on our downloads page and on the showcase. These are all the things that Chris has looked at and decided, you know what, I want to fold these into the world that I run, the way that I run it. And it's an invitation for you to do the same thing. You can either look at this book here and be inspired by it, or why not use it as your own system, as your own add-on for your game. You can download this as either a PDF or as an ODT, like a source file, an open document text. Modify it, strike things, take things out, put things back in, add things to it, and then distribute this along with the core rules to your players as, okay, this is the game the way that I run it. But let's have a look and see what Chris is up to here. So he says, the Glain Companion is a collection of supplementary rules for the Basic Fantasy role-playing game. This volume contains the game as I play it with my own group in my own world of Glain. Despite the name, few if any details regarding the world of Glain will be found here. The book simply compiles the information the players in my campaign need in addition to the core rules volume in order to enjoy the game to the fullest. This is not an official Basic Fantasy publication, but you may find it interesting to note that all the rules complied herein come from official rules supplement documents published on the basicfantasy.org website, where, of course, you can find the core rules, supplementary rules, adventures, and other materials all distributed for free. So, yeah. And actually, that's the difference between what appears on the downloads page and what goes on other parts of the website. Pretty much anything that you see available on the downloads page is something that Chris has sort of said is an official product that can be considered. Yeah, it's gotten the thumbs up. Things on the showcase are they're either never going to be considered to be official products, or they're things that are currently in development and may not be completed. I'm going to give Chris the benefit of the doubt, and knowing himself, and say that this is probably a very complete document. Plus, when you look back at the time there, he's been working on this pretty steadily for like 11 years, it seems. So anyway, And having last looked at it in 2017, I'm sure if there were anything wrong with this, he would have probably fixed it. But it's probably feature complete, ready for you to be able to adapt to your own purposes should you wish. So let's look at some of the things that he's added. And first off the bat is he's put in some more races. Gnomes, half-elves, half-ogres, and half-orcs. And I do admit, I love... my first impression of the half-orc was not good. I think the first time I ever saw a picture of a half-orc, it was I think it was the Player's Handbook in 1978. And there was a group picture there that showed sort of the relative appearances and heights, and it was a group picture comparing what the races looked like. And they had this really goofy, big eyebrowed dork of a half-orc there, and I thought, oh dear, I don't want my character to look like that. So the years, though, in between, from then to now, there's been a lot of very complimentary artwork completed for the half-orc. And most interestingly, like an interesting variation from more orcish-looking ones and more human-looking ones of all sizes and colors. And I don't know, it's really found... It's worked its way into my heart as a character, and now the half-orc barbarian is one of my favorite things to play, at least in 5e. Half-ogre, though, I've never heard of, so why don't we take a minute and just do a quick fly-through of this. They tend to be outcasts within both human and ogreish communities, but often found as leaders in communities of orcs or goblins. Okay. They're big, averaging around 7 feet tall. Tend to look more like ogres with dark, coarse hair, tan, brown skin, dark eyes. May become clerics or fighters only. Minimum of 13 in strength and constitution, and are capped at 15 for intelligence and wisdom. And they roll 1 hit dice larger than normal for their class. So a fighter, which normally would be a d8, rolls a d10, while a half-ogre cleric would roll a d8. Interesting. No special bonuses to saving throws. Okay. Neat. I've never heard of a half-ogre, so which suggests that he didn't pull this out of nowhere, and maybe there's a half-ogre. Why do I want to say half-ogre? It suggests that there must be a half-ogre supplement somewhere in the website that I haven't never downloaded or looked at. But awesome. See, we're learning stuff. I love it. All right, and now we've gone to Assassin as a Thief subclass. And Bard. Okay. Yeah, I know bards are a huge thing now. And there's all the bard memes, and we don't have to go there. Anyway, I think they're sufficiently differentiated that I've never... And maybe it's just because they go back, and I'm a total grognard, and don't take me seriously or whatever, but I guess because since way back there's been such a thing as a bard, and actually I suppose assassins also. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, give me a minute. All right, here's what I'm thinking. I think because bard is sort of a scoundrel musician, to me that seemed like it was enough of a strange mishmash of features, kind of fighterish, kind of roguish, but with this sort of musical, theatrical overtone, that it really seemed like an interesting, distinct class. Whereas with assassins, I always kind of wondered whether it really needed to exist as a separate class. Even if you look at these abilities, like it's pretty much the same things as your standard thief, with the exception of poison being tacked on there at the end. And I always wondered, do you really need to make a separate subclass of thief called the assassin, where it's basically just adding certain behavioral tendencies? And all of this kind of goes back to my inherent reluctance against class creep, where we create more and more and more classes rather than just distinguishing ourselves in the way that we choose to play a character. And I always thought, I've played thieves, and I've played thieves that were just straight thieves. I played thieves that were actually pretty moralistic, and they were stealing just from bad people, like these white knights, or so they thought. and wouldn't steal from good people, wouldn't steal from needy people. And all the way down to thieves that were basically hired killers because they realized there was more money to be made from working on contracts than breaking into places. And I didn't need to have a special class to do any of those behavioral variations of playing a thief. I just made those decisions as a player in the game, and as my dungeon master sort of learned to, through the choices that I made, learned to regard me in a certain way and figure out how they were going to roll for that, it organically developed. And I don't know, I'm still very much in favor of that. You don't have to be. I'm not trying to change your mind about anything. I think very carefully before I would add more classes, and to the greatest extent possible. Gosh, and I say this right in my book, Chrysogon's Coterie. It's in the introduction there, I think. That so much of what we look at as being subclasses really is just a choice that a character could make, and a GM or a DM could learn how to handle just in the course of you having those tendencies to try to do things that distinguish your character as not the typical thief. In any case, this is something that you can teach new players with, that maybe really think in terms of staying inside of very distinct, very defined little boxes and stuff like that. May not be the worst thing in the world. It's okay. It's not the worst thing in the world. You should read the section on songs, because I'm not going to. I'm telling you to do it. You should read the section on songs. Illusionist. Okay. So I've already outed myself, saying that I had this dislike of half-orcs, or at least maybe lack of respect for them, which I've subsequently gained. I'd like you to write down in the comments and tell me why it is that I should be wanting to be a David Copperfield when I could be a Merlin. Why should I want fake magic when I could have real magic? I've never understood this ever. I didn't understand it back then when I first learned about the Illusionist through first edition Advanced. And 53-year-old me is still in the dark as to why illusions and quasi-real stuff on the planes of shadow, why should I be interested in that when I could actually throw like real fire at you? Write in the comments down below. Tell me. I want to know. Paladin is a fighter subclass. Yeah. When they become too cleric-y, when there's too much, this is my general, it's when my hackles kind of get up when I get concerned. What I love about the 3 classes or the 4 classes, depending on whether you're looking at 1974 or 75 original D&D, is that I like the fact that those core characters, they had complementary skills, and you really needed to have one of everybody in order to have a complete adventuring group, because everyone has something that they can contribute that no one else can contribute. When you start to have things like spells that are shared around character classes, I'm talking with my hands, sorry about that, it sort of diminishes the importance of having those separate classes when magic is now a thing that other character classes have, so the mages aren't as important anymore. And it also applies to rules. This is why, and I've said it before, the short rest, long rest mechanism, 5e, pretty much just nerfed the importance of the cleric. The clerics used to be so vital to running an adventure, and it's now, yeah, I can be on death's doorstep, but, just kick back, have a nap. I'm already feeling better. One night's sleep, though, you can't tell that my legs were mangled, that my head was practically snapped off, that I was clinging to death's doorstep. Wake up the next morning without a scratch on me. Anyway, something was lost when that. It's the difference, I guess, between trying to have an immersive experience where you really try to at least give a little bit of reality to this, and alternately, with the long and short rest thing, you pretty much just realize it's a video game. We're playing a video game. I have my 4 hearts or my 3 hearts, and I have my 3 lives, and if I die, well, boop, boop, boop. It's fine because I've got more lives left, and my bad outcome is completely erased, and I redo. Anyway, Rangers I think are cool. Scout, though, I'd never heard of a Scout, and I know very little about them. But my initial read, and if I'm wrong, in the comments, tell me in the comments. It seems like it's another thief subclass, but it's like a thief ranger. And but why? Why wouldn't you just be a thief and then play like a ranger, or be a ranger and kind of have some thiefy tendencies? I think these are all things that you could work out just with your DM in the course of you going out in the world with your character and making choices. But yeah, if you want to have everything locked down, or if you have players that like constraints and they like to sort of live inside of the little boxes that a system like this will create for a character class, then fine. I don't know. I fear that I know that I'm soft-spoken, and I'm a social worker, and I'm probably a lot more sensitive. I'm a secret badass. I am. I know you don't believe it. In any case, I don't like to be constrained within characters and descriptions, and I've got some real issues about it. Pressing forward. Magic. So, all right. So clearly, because we've added some the illusionist class for sure, there are going to be spells in here that didn't exist and that are pulled out of the supplements that this has created from combining. But let me just have a quick look here. So druid spells. Clearly, there were no druid spells, because in this book here, which I'm going to hold in the correct direction, there were no druids and there were no illusionists. Yeah, none to be found. Now, I know I've shown this on the channel before, and why is it? When you buy this, you see this online, you're not going to find these stickers anywhere. Well, actually, you will. If you look for, D&D stickers, you'll find them. Why do I have them in my book? Well, when they changed the design of this cover for 4th edition, they took out there used to be one of these that went on all 4 sides now, and with the 4th edition, now it wraps around the back. And it drove me batty that there was a big black bar here, so this is my way of coping. Yeah, it's strange, the sort of things that people find irritating about change. And I do not claim to be a perfect person. I have my own things. But isn't it amazing that you can just go buy some stickers and stick them in the big black hole, which was driving you batty about your new book? Anyway, the reason that I picked this up. So, with Cleric and Magic User spells, they go up to 6th level for both of those classes. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that what's added into here is to both add the Druid and Illusionist spells, and possibly also extend the spells for the existing character classes. So I see Druid spells that go up to 6th level, and I see things like Control Winds and Commune with Nature, Summon Animals, Weather Summoning, Pass Tree, Animate Natural Objects. Now, unless I'm seeing weird, those appear to be bold. So I'm guessing that means that those are specific. They're not just also halves from the Cleric class, but they're brand new things that are specific to being a Druid. Okay, and yeah, at the bottom of the paragraph there, left column, page 14, below are listed spells. They're available to the Illusionist subclass. Spells in bold are new, and the other spells are found in the core rules. So I guess the same will apply to the Illusionist class. So anything that I see here that's in bold is going to be in this additional spells in alphabetical order. So I'm asking a lot of questions this time. What do you think about the style that BFRPG uses, where, old school, they used to break up the spells by class? You'd have all your Magic User spells, and then all of your Cleric spells, and then probably all your Druid spells and all of your Illusionist spells. And you may see the same spell repeated more than once, with slight variations, and it may be at a different level because of the way that design was. I have to say that I don't mind having one master list of spells where everything is alphabetical and I don't need to remember which level of spell it is or be looking at the chart which tells me which level of spell. But I just need to have my ABCs and know that, okay, well, Pass Wall begins with P, so I'm going to flip ahead to the P's. I really like this, but if you don't, tell me why in the comments. Why is this an unimprovement for this game? I liked it for spells that are functionally identical, that you have it one time and it'll say, this is Magic User 3, Cleric 4, or whatever. And for some of these spells, maybe, for the new ones particularly, it'll just be Illusionist or Druid, because there's going to be no overlap there. These are brand new for those particular classes. So, Animal Friendship, Blur. Okay, so there'll be a lot of them here. I'm just going to just zip through real quick. So, now we're at the encounter. We have extra rules, I guess, here. Things that are not specified in the book. 2-weapon combat. Defending, unarmored combat, mounted combat. All right. Does that include jousting? You know what I loved? I love small books. Love small books. I don't have it here, but as far as original Dungeons & Dragons, like 0E, my favorite adaptation is the very small and compact, beautifully digest-sized white box, fantastic medieval adventure game. It actually talks about jousting. It's not a lot of information, but it's something. And it even talks about the outcome, about how if you lose a joust, you lose your armor. There's a ransom to get you back. You lose your horse. Lovely, lovely game. In any case, we're on this book. Just a reminder, though, I love a lot of different systems. This is why my channel is not just the basic fantasy channel. For all of its faults, first edition, second edition D&D, has some beautiful things about it. Shield bash, light weapons, called shots. Let's read that. Called shots are those, is it like Babe Ruth, where he's like pointing in the outfield where he's going to put the ball? Or no, wait, what is that? Casey at the bat, that poem. Yes, okay. Or maybe it's both. I could swear that I remember from my history class that there were ball players back in the day that would call their shots. They would point to where they were going to hit the ball, because they were so sure of themselves that no one was going to be like right over the back wall. Called shots are those kind of attacks that are not performed with the intent of simply dealing damage, but rather to achieve special effects like tripping, disarming, or otherwise subduing the target. If you execute such, it's at a -4 penalty. Some examples are disarming a character or tripping a character. Okay. So it's a little different than what I thought. See, I went and said all that for nothing. Calm or befriend animal. All right. Sentient weapons. I've already recorded an entire discussion on sentient weapons, which is probably going to be released by the time this is released. Because at least chronologically, it's already in the queue. I did not intend to start a YouTube channel. Leave it to say, they're the most interesting NPCs. And there's at least one of them in that book, Chris Gonnerman's Coterie, because she has an interesting relationship with her handler. And that's it. That is it. Just the open game license. In any case, as I said, this basic fantasy is intentionally a starting point. It is a well-reasoned, well-designed, manageable game for people that just want either something that harkens to that 1981 Basic and Expert, which is what we all deeply love, And we are putting out into the world without all of the intellectual property. We're taking the ability to distribute it and putting it in people's hands, and the ability to contribute and make content for it and putting that into people's hands. But you can certainly mix and match it and do what you want with it to make it the game that you want to play. And if you're not up for the task of looking through all of the different things that are in our download section and our showcase section at basicfantasy.org, you could just start with this one document from Mr. Gonnerman and use that as your starting point. Strike out the things that you don't want. Put things in that you do want. Use his ODT file, his open document text, as the beginnings of your own customized game. So anyway, this has been a fun spin through. I hope it's been helpful for you. I've enjoyed it. Until next time.